Sinner's not an American. I mean, it's like a German guy, an Austrian. You know, learn to speak German. He lives there at a ski. Shouldn't he have grown up in L.A.?
I don't know. You know what? I think we can all just be happy that Spain finally has a good male tennis player, right?
Rafael Nadal built his entire tennis life inside Roland Garros. 14 titles, 112 match wins on that red clay. A court so completely owned by one man that they named a statue after him before he even retired. And now, Nadal speechless, Sinner is just 7 wins from immortality. Because when a reporter put a microphone in front of the greatest clay court player who ever lived and asked him about what Jannik Sinner is doing right now, Nadal could not hide it. He called it unique and exceptional. He said he is watching as a fan. The man who defined Paris for 2 decades is sitting in the stands watching someone else rewrite the record books he thought were his forever. 7 wins. That is all that separates Jannik Sinner from the one thing no Italian man has ever done. The one thing Rafael Nadal himself could never fully complete. The career Grand Slam. Paris is the final wall. And the wall has never looked this fragile. Subscribe right now and stay with us. Because what is happening at Roland Garros 2026 is not a tennis tournament. It is a coronation in progress. Let us start with where Sinner is standing before a single ball has been hit in the main draw. The man is riding a 29-match winning streak. Not 29 wins across a mixed bag of warm-up events and charity exhibitions. 29 wins across the most grueling stretch of the professional tennis calendar, a stretch that began in February in Doha and has not paused once since. Across those 29 matches, he dropped 3 sets total. 3. He did not lose a set at Indian Wells. He did not lose a set at Miami. He did not lose a set at Monte Carlo when he walked onto clay for the first time this season, found Carlos Alcaraz, the 2-time defending Roland Garros champion, waiting for him in the final and dismantled him in straight sets, 7-6, 6-3. 5 consecutive Masters 1,000 titles in a row, a sequence that has never existed in the 36-year history of the format. Not Djokovic, not Federer, not Nadal. Nobody had ever done it before Jannik Sinner did it in the spring of 2026. Then came Rome. Then came the history that even the historians were not fully prepared for. Sinner defeated Casper Ruud 6-4, 6-4 in the Italian Open final on home soil, in front of the president of Italy, in front of Adriano Panatta, the last Italian man to win Rome, back in 1976, and in doing so became only the second man in tennis history, after Novak Djokovic, to complete the career Golden Masters. All 9 ATP Masters 1000 tournaments, every single one, won at least once. Djokovic first achieved it in 2018 in Cincinnati, after decades of working through the full list. Sinner is 24 years old. He started collecting Masters titles in Toronto in 2023. It took him less than 3 years to finish the set. And then the streak number, the one that made Djokovic's records feel suddenly mortal. Sinner's consecutive Masters 1,000 match wins currently stand at 34. Djokovic's previous all-time record was 31, set in 2011, a year when Djokovic was arguably playing the greatest single season in the history of men's tennis. Sinner broke it in the quarterfinals of Rome against Andrei Rublev, and then extended it to 34 before the tournament was over. Across those 34 matches, he dropped exactly 3 sets. He beat Alexander Zverev 5 times and did not lose a set in any of those encounters. The only players to take a set off him during the entire run were Tomas Machak and Benjamin Bonzi, both in tiebreaks. Daniil Medvedev won a set in the Rome semifinals. That is the complete list of damage. 3 sets dropped in 34 matches against the best clay and hard court players in the world. And yet, the number that sits underneath all of this, the number that gives this moment its full weight, is 14. Because 14 is what Nadal has at Roland Garros. 14 titles on the same red clay that Sinner is about to walk onto, needing just 7 wins. Nadal swept all 3 clay Masters, Monte Carlo, Madrid, and Rome, in a single season exactly once in his entire career. That was 2010. It took 16 years for anyone to match that feat. Sinner matched it 3 weeks ago. The man who redefined what dominance on clay was supposed to look like watched a 24-year-old Italian casually tick off the same box as a warm-up to a Grand Slam attempt. Here is what Nadal actually said when reporters put a microphone in front of him during the presentation of his Netflix documentary and asked about what Sinner is doing. He said it is evident that Sinner's rivals are performing below expectations. He said Sinner has earned this privilege. He said he is watching as a fan and that the records being broken are unique and exceptional. Understand what that actually is. That is not a gracious compliment from a retired champion who spent 30 seconds composing something polite. That is a man who built his entire identity around making Roland Garros unassailable. Watching the architecture he spent a career constructing get quietly dismantled, and the only thing he could find to say was that he is enjoying it from the stands. When Rafael Nadal has no argument, when he defaults to the word fan, the silence behind that word is louder than anything else in the room. Now let us talk about why 7 wins is both the simplest and most dangerous number in sports. Roland Garros is a best-of-5 format across 2 weeks, 7 matches. That is the full distance between Jannik Sinner and the career Grand Slam, a feat only Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Andre Agassi, and a short list of the most decorated players in tennis history have ever completed. The context matters. Federer never won Monte Carlo. Federer never won Rome. Despite 59 major titles combined, the 3 greatest players who preceded Sinner's generation could not between them collect every title on the Masters 1000 circuit. Federer fell 2 short, Nadal fell 1 short. The Paris Masters, an indoor hard-court event that never suited his game, finished him off twice as a finalist in 2007 and 2013 and never gave him the title. Sinner, at 24, has already done the harder thing. He has won them all. Paris is the formality that history has been waiting for him to collect. His draw does nothing to discourage that reading. Top seed. Opening match against French wildcard Clément Tabur. A projected third-round encounter with Corentin Moutet, which is a match that will belong to the crowd more than it belongs to the tennis, but a match Sinner has the game to control. His projected quarterfinal is Ben Shelton, a player he has beaten 9 times in their 10 career meetings, including a 6-3, 6-3 demolition at the Paris Masters last October that wasn't even a contest. His projected semi-final opponent is either Felix Auger-Aliassime or Daniil Medvedev. Medvedev, who Sinner beat 6-2, 5-7, 6-4 in Rome just days ago. FAA, who Sinner has handled repeatedly across this winning streak, including a straight-set win in the Paris final last November. And in the other half of the draw, should both progress to the final, sits Novak Djokovic, the only other man alive who has ever completed the career Golden Masters, and the man Sinner beat in straight sets in the Roland Garros semi-final 12 months ago. The path is not a gift, it is not without danger, but it has never looked this manageable. The absence hanging over this tournament reshapes everything it touches. Carlos Alcaraz is not here. Let that sentence sit for a moment before moving past it. The 2-time defending champion, the player who beat Sinner in last year's Roland Garros final from 2 sets down and 3 championship points down, a final that lasted 5 hours and 29 minutes and became the longest in the tournament's history, he is gone. Withdrawn with a wrist injury so serious, he has already confirmed he will miss Wimbledon as well. The man who had won 14 consecutive matches at Roland Garros, the man who is 8-4 head-to-head against Sinner across their full career and had beaten him in 3 of their last 4 Grand Slam encounters. He is not in Paris. He will not be there when the title is decided. Think about what that final actually was. Sinner won the first 2 sets. He reached triple championship point, serving at 5-3 in the 4th. He was a single point away from his first Roland Garros title, his first career Grand Slam, in front of a packed court Philippe Chatrier. And then Alcaraz saved all 3 of those championship points, held his serve, broke Sinner, forced a tiebreak, won it, then sprinted through the first 7 points of the deciding tiebreak to seal the title 10-2. The one player who could do that to Sinner, who could find 3 championship point saves from 0-40 in a Grand Slam final and still win the match, is not in the building. Lorenzo Musetti is gone. Jack Draper is gone. The draw that arrived in Paris for Roland Garros 2026 is already thinner at the top than any Roland Garros draw in recent memory. Nadal never got this. Djokovic never got this. The version of Roland Garros that Nadal built his legacy inside was one where Federer was always somewhere in the other half of the draw, where Djokovic was waiting to make things difficult, where the field arrived at full strength every single year. Sinner is walking into a tournament with the defending champion absent, the second and third most dangerous opponents below their best form, and a field that several analysts have described as the weakest in years at the top of the men's draw. Djokovic, who sits in the other half as the nominal threat to a Sinner final, arrives in Paris having barely played competitive tennis in 2026. His only clay match before this tournament was a first-round loss in Rome. He hired a friend as a temporary coach in the days before the draw. He is 38 years old and chasing a 25th Grand Slam title that would break his own record. The 38-year-old warrior version of Djokovic, who could still conjure a 5-set classic from nothing, is real and cannot be dismissed. But his half of the draw runs through João Fonseca, Casper Ruud, and Alexander Zverev. That is not a path that rewards a player with one clay match of preparation. Zverev, meanwhile, carries his own Roland Garros trauma into Paris. He has the weapons to threaten Sinner, but has never beaten him when it has mattered. And his Madrid semi-final loss, a 6-1, 6-2 defeat that took barely more than an hour, confirmed that the gap between the two of them this clay season has not been narrow. Ruud is the most consistent clay court operator in the bottom half, but Sinner beat him 6-4, 6-4 in the Rome final without being at his absolute ceiling. The real weight of this moment only becomes clear when you understand what the career Grand Slam at 24 would actually mean. Sinner already has 4 major titles: the Australian Open twice, the US Open, Wimbledon. He is the defending Wimbledon champion, a fact that still sounds strange in a sentence about a 24-year-old Italian who grew up skiing in the mountains of South Tyrol. If he wins Roland Garros, he will have completed the career Grand Slam at an age when Federer had won exactly 1, when Djokovic had won exactly 1, when Nadal had won 3, all of them on clay, with no idea yet whether hard courts and grass would ever fully belong to him. Sinner will have won everything, on every surface, in the same calendar year that he completed the career Golden Masters and broke Djokovic's all-time Masters consecutive wins record. He will have done it the year after he held 3 championship points in a Roland Garros final and came away with nothing. And that is possibly the most important thing of all, because the version of Sinner who arrives in Paris in 2026 is not the version who stood at 5-3 in the 4th set last June and watched Alcaraz dismantle 3 match points in a row. This version won Monte Carlo. This version went through Alcaraz on clay this season without losing a set. This version beat Zverev 6-0, 6-1 in Madrid, winning the second set in 32 minutes. He is not the same player who left this court a year ago wondering how it slipped away. He is heavier with experience now and lighter in a different way, unburdened by the question of whether clay can ever truly be his surface. And Nadal, watching from somewhere outside the baseline, Netflix documentary released, and records falling behind him one after another, said only that he is enjoying it as a fan. The man who won this tournament 14 times, who turned Roland Garros into the closest thing professional tennis has to a monarchy, could find nothing else to say. 7 wins, the court is ready, the draw has opened, the rival is absent, the record books are waiting. If you are watching this unfold in real time, and you are not subscribed yet, now is the moment. Hit the subscribe button, because when Sinner lifts that trophy in Paris, you are going to want to have been here for the entire conversation.